Good evening and welcome to Match of the Day as the end of the season approaches and the excitement mounts in all four divisions of the Canon League, not least in the First Division Championship race, as at 3 o'clock this afternoon, 4 teams were still in with a fighting chance. Coming up now, matches involving 2 of them. First, champions Everton against Ipswich Town, who have a different problem, the problem of survival.
Trevor Stephen against the foot of the post. And the flick away again by Cranston, denying Inchy Heath.
Next, it's West Ham United with 7 games still to play away at Watford.
And Cottage there, and he hit the bar.
And tonight's your first chance to take part in the goal of the season competition.
As the League Championship moves towards a thrilling climax, other issues are decided. Birmingham City join West Bromwich Albion on their way down from Division 1. Norwich City are promoted from Division 2 as champions. Third Division leaders Reading are back in the Second Division after 55 years. And Swindon make sure of the Fourth Division Championship.
So now's our chance to join almost 40,000 people at Goodison Park, the majority welcoming their favourites back home, in their eyes to witness the champions overwhelm lowly Ipswich Town. Well, we shall see. Your commentator, Barry Davis.
The champions return home after 3 weeks and 4 matches away, with the destiny of the title firmly in their grasp. They have to slip in order for others to prosper. And in the absence through injury of the Footballer of the Year, Gary Lineker, Adrian Heath is in the starting lineup. Though his ability as a reluctant substitute to turn a match is worth more than a passing thought for the England manager. The Everton side is that which finished the game at Watford on Tuesday, with Bobby Mims yet to concede a league goal in 4 appearances since he took over from Neville Southall at the end of March. Ipswich find themselves at the wrong end of the table on account of not being able to score goals. Their total of 28 is the worst in the 4 divisions. Their team shows one change from that which lost to Aston Villa at Villa Park on Wednesday, the return of the former Everton player after injury, Ian Atkins, who will wear number 3, but presumably will play at right back. The referee today is Alan Saunders from Newcastle upon Tyne. 2 midfield players to start the game, and the long ball from Trevor Stephen to Lock. The weather conditions not untypical of the opening day of the cricket season. It's been raining quite hard for the last 20 minutes. Top surface will be a little bit greasy, and it's quite chilly. It's Paul Cooper, been a fixture for so long, joined the club back in 1974. Graceful claiming it off Dozell. Atkins, who is playing at right back. Bobby Mims. Won by Cleghorn. Stevens. Heath. Butcher giving it away. Good play by Trevor Stephen. Good angle. And an important header by Cranston. Really did well then, Trevor Stephen. Little sway to turn the defender, giving himself a bit of room right on the touchline. And a very deep cross which was testing the goalkeeper and needed the head of Cranston for the ball to be cleared. Bracewell. He's looking for it, trying to get behind Atkins, but not succeeding. Sharp waiting on the near post. Trevor Stephen against the foot of the post. And the flick away again by Cranston, denying Inchy Heath. really would have been a marvellous goal. It was a lovely header by Trevor Stevens. It was a delightful attempt that followed Stevens' effort by Adrian Heath. Gary Stevens couldn't get there first. Gleckhorn did. Well, it was against Ipswich in the Cup last season that Everton really started a purple patch, which they carried on against Sunderland, and indeed all the way to the end of the season. And they started well here. Butcher just there ahead of Trevor Stevens. Ratcliffe. It's an early encampment in the Ipswich half. Champions have had all the play since the kickoff. Ratcliffe. Richardson. Bracewell won't make that. Terry Butcher, who made his debut on this ground back in April 1978, when his team lost by the only goal. Gazelle, just a languid-looking player, but obviously with great potential. That happy knack of having time when there doesn't seem to be any, and that's always a sign of a good player, if not potentially a great player. The nod down fed into space that no Ipswich player could get to. Fields. Gleckhorn. And I think the referee's whistle has gone to make a booking, and the name will be Mitch Davray, and the offence was too much Chet. Referee making it quite clear that he had enough of it. Everybody other than Mims in the Ipswich half. Bracewell. Reed. Heath. Mountfield. Well, it's the sort of chance that he's gobbled up so often in the past. The ball rather came off his head rather than his head meeting the ball. Wilson. When we reach half-time, and Ipswich will be quite pleased with themselves. So much control play by Everton, some beautiful approach work, but no finish. As it turned out, the nearest they came was in the 3rd minute, when Trevor Stevens' fine header came back off the foot of the post, and Heath following up was unluckily wide with a little chip. So at half-time, Bobby Ferguson on the right there, presumably very happy with the score of 0-0. The roof is blue enough, but the sky grey and the rain pouring down. But what's in store for Everton fans in the second half? Certainly they'll be hoping that their team will trouble Paul Cooper rather more than they did in the first half. In spite of all their possession, Cooper was little employed. Mick Stockwell, usually a midfield player, is the Ipswich substitute. And he's come on for a midfield player. The man who's gone off is Romeo Zondervan because of a hamstring injury. 3 of their 5 games remaining, this one included, are here at Goodison Park. So Everton certainly in the driver's seat, but they've got to find a way through in the second period to stay there. A bit of a stretch for that by Kevin Ratcliffe, and the referee had no choice but to give the free kick. And it's Davray who's down injured. But because he stretched, certainly Studs made contact with the shin of Mitch Davray. And Davray obviously feeling the injury, and the crowd not being particularly sympathetic. And it could be that Ipswich will be down to 10 men for the rest of the contest. Certainly they're going to be for a while. There was no malice in the challenge by Ratcliffe, but the ball was going away from him. He stretched for it, and by doing so, his studs came across the shin of Davray. Wilson, Bracewell. Ratcliffe. The blue tide on the Ipswich shore again. But Ipswich playing Canute with some ease. Ratcliffe to cover. Stevens. Butcher had to turn because Heath had gone to mark the goalkeeper. The patience of 1 or 2 in the crowd, but behind me being exhausted a little. Heath. He's such a little battler. Good play though by Mark Brennan. Did he overrun it? Trevor Stephen, Sharp. And the referee again feeling that the challenge was first on the man by Sharp, and the referee indicating that the elbow was up. And Sharp, one of the scorers at Watford, the other goal by Lineker, his 34th, Sharp's 21st. Quite a conversation. The one booking so far has been for words by the man who currently is injured, and the other number 9. Sharp gets away with it. And Mitch Davray being carried to the dressing room, and I don't think he's going to take any further part. So the champions playing 10 men, but still struggling to find the opening. Stevens. Past the waving Bobby Ferguson. Got everybody back. Ratcliffe. Richardson. Sharp! Lovely cross. And met by a header which gave Cooper no chance. Sharp goes to look for the man who made the cross as Cooper is finally beaten. But the ball seemed to hang in the air, and Sharp met it to flick it over for Cooper. And Everton at last have the lead, just as their crowd were beginning to feel that it was never going to come. The whole atmosphere changes, and one can only feel a certain amount of sympathy for Ipswich Town whose whole object has been to defend, and they've had to do so for the last few minutes with only 10 men. But certainly on the balance of play, the goal is long, long overdue. Offside flag is up. So Graham Sharp moves on to 22 on the score sheet. This is tally for the season. Met by Ratcliffe. Not a particularly powerful header. Banged away anywhere will do by Stevens. Sharp. Ratcliffe. Vandenhauw. He's wanted it played a bit earlier. He's got it now, but in no space. Cranston. Bracewell. Foul by Cranston, and that hurt a bit. And it means that the referee will have to add a little more time to a few moments anyway of injury time already allowed. Reed. Heath. Well, how do you dominate a match and yet feel relieved when it's all over that you've won? But even so, the one goal from a teasing cross by Kevin Richardson and the header by Graham Sharp gives Everton 3 points and keeps them on course for retaining their title.
So Everton keep the distance between themselves and their pursuers, as did Liverpool by winning away at West Brom. It wasn't a convincing performance, as you saw, against a very determined Ipswich team, eventually reduced to 10 men. But the 3 points count just as much as if the win had been accomplished in more characteristic fashion. Which brings us to Watford and West Ham, thought by many to be the most stylish team in the division. Whether that's true or not, they must have approached Vicarage Road with a thought or two about what happened there last season. Your commentator is John Watson.
Watford's top scorer Colin West is back after missing 7 matches with an ankle ligament injury, and he'll remember that he was one of the scorers when Watford beat West Ham 5-0 here last April. Graham Taylor admits he's taking a risk with West, but he's without 5 injured players, including Luther Blissett, who scored for the reserves on his comeback yesterday. So John Barnes continues as the other central striker, with Worrell Sterling on the left wing and David Bardsley on the right flank. Paul Franklin continues to deputise for Wilf Rostron at left back. After their defeat by Chelsea on Tuesday, West Ham are without the injured Jeff Pike. He collided with his teammate Neil Orr, who today takes over Pike's number 11 shirt. But Tony Gale is fit to help protect the best defensive record in Division 1. Only Liverpool have put 3 goals past West Ham in any one match, and since Christmas, Gale has possibly been West Ham's most consistent player. Referee on a cool, still afternoon in Hertfordshire is Jeff Bray of Hinckley. West Ham kicking off in the white shorts and very conscious that they need 3 points here to maintain a realistic championship challenge. In fact, they've lost 4 out of their last 5 away games in the league, West Ham. This is Devonshire. Now Orr. Mark Ward out on the right. Franklin, who blocked the attempted cross. So Gale and Martin have made their way forward for this first-minute corner. And it's been pulled right back for Orr to head it through and flicked on by Martin, who is unable to play for England against Scotland next Wednesday because West Ham have a rearranged league match on Monday night. That was West, on to Sterling. Franklin's overlapping on the left. The referee could have played an advantage there, but the linesman had already flagged for the foul on Sterling, so play has been brought back. It's a free kick to Watford. Sterling to bend it in. And Parks comes to collect. McAvenny. Or Jacket. And now Barnes. That was well played by John Barnes. This is David Bardsley. Fired across, and West! Good sweeping play by Watford. John Barnes started it, getting away from Alvin Martin and putting Bardsley free on the right. Fired in low and dangerously, and West, who's been out for 7 games, put his first opportunity over the bar. Franklin. Oh, look at that control from Barnes. Beautiful. West, and Barnes couldn't get the return because he was impeded slightly. Not intentionally, according to the referee, but it was a lovely piece of instant control by John Barnes. Well worth dwelling on. Bardsley, and there goes West, but he's offside. This is Gale. Ward. Stewart joining the attack. Cotty's underneath this. Cleared by Gibbs. And this could be awkward for Watford, except that McClellan read it beautifully, cutting out Cotty and finding West. West Ham is showing that they too can use the long ball. This is McAvenny. It was Gale's pass, and Tony Coton handles outside his area to stop McAvenny. Beautiful ball from the back by Tony Gale that put McAvenny clear. Coton making a desperate save. He wasn't booked. It's a free kick to West Ham on the edge of the area. Cotty has moved away now, and Gale shoots into the wall and then chips one in for McAvenny, and Cotty's there, and he hit the bar. Well, the West Ham twin striking combination of McAvenny and Cotty have done so well for each other this season, and there was a case of Gale, whose first shot came back off the wall, chipping in for McAvenny to head through, and Cotty got a bit too much rise on the shot, and it seemed to ricochet off the top of the crossbar. And that's a foul by Alvin Martin. Well, the way this match has started, there's a suggestion that goals are in the air. Brian Talbot with the free kick for Watford. and Barnes. Away by Martin. Jacket. Miscue by Dickens. Sterling. Away by Gale, and now West Ham can break away with Ward. McAvenny and Cotty are a long way away from him at the moment. But he beat Talbot, Mark Ward, and fired a tremendous shot of which he's perfectly capable. And Tony Coton must have got a finger to that. It's a corner. Coton will be very pleased with the save. He allowed a shot from Ward to slip through his hands in the first meeting between the sides at Upton Park back in November when West Ham won 2-1. And certainly that was a powerful effort from the West Ham winger, which Coton dealt with. Dickens, back again to Devonshire. And Ward again, and Devonshire again. Well, a most enterprising start to this match. Already activity in both penalty areas. Here's Devonshire. That was Gibbs. That was Cotty. Dickens. Here's McClelland. Here's Ward. McAvenny, what good skillful play by the Scotland striker. Cotty's in the centre here for the header, and here comes Alan Devonshire, and he pulled it back, and Coton's lost it, and Dickens trying to squeeze it in. A corner to West Ham. Brian Talbot and Tony Coton collided there, but beautiful approach play by McAvenny. Corner quickly taken. Here's Devonshire, and now it's Ward. Here's Bardsley. That's a nice turn past Paris by Bardsley, and the drive beautifully handled by Parks. Well, David Bardsley taking credit there for making his own opportunity. He took on George Paris, beat him, found the space for the shot, but Parks' anticipation there was first class, and so was his handling. This is Barnes. Jacket. Now then, Bardsley, as the referee blows for half-time. Match got off to a very promising start, and West Ham have certainly had more of it, but no goals to show for their advantage territorially. Segregation very much a part of crowd control these days. The police keeping certain areas clear, particularly when London clubs are playing or visiting other teams in the south. The West Ham fans to the right of the picture there. And while we're talking about Vicarage Road, a new stand will be built for the start of next season, with executive boxes included, and be completed perhaps during next season on that side of the ground from which we are bringing you our match coverage from the camera position on top there. That's all going to be rebuilt as from this summer. John Barnes there getting the second half started for Watford. He too is ruled out of the England-Scotland game on Wednesday, like Alvin Martin, because Watford also have a rearranged league match on Monday night against Nottingham Forest here, while West Ham play Newcastle. This partly the result of the chaotic fixture congestion earlier in the season. So Watford start the second half with a free kick. And there's Terry, back in by Jacket. And Watford also start the second half with their manager, Graham Taylor, down on the bench, second from the right. It was Jacket who was fouled. And takes the free kick himself to Barnes. And that's curled for Bardsley. Free kick given against Neil Orr. So Watford with 5 players pressed well forward here around the edge of the West Ham penalty area. There's Jacket. Now it's Gibbs. And West. 3 waiting in the centre for Watford. And Martin away from Barnes. That was dangerous. Devonshire helps it on. McClelland. And now Neil Orr for West Ham. Cotty's made a run across the penalty area. This is Ward. McAvenny and Dickens waiting in the centre here. And pulled back, intended for Cotty that by Ward, but not very accurate. Nice turn by Ward. Devonshire. And still. Cotty arriving. Oh, it's a goal. Typical West Ham. 59 minutes. Tony Cotty. And how well made, how expertly taken, and how it sums up the West Ham style of play, appreciated by their supporters. Devonshire took it up on the right-hand side of the box, got the early ball in, and Cotty tucked it away for his 23rd of the season. And that may be a goal to keep West Ham's championship hopes alive, we shall see. Scored by the Young Player of the Year, Tony Cotty. And his award as well deserved as that goal was. He already beaten Steve Terry. Look at this from McAvenny. And Cotty couldn't do it. Fine piece of defending at the end by Nigel Gibbs, I think. But McAvenny there suddenly exploded into life, jabbed it past Coton, and Cotty came in to try and finish it, and little Nigel Gibbs made a timely clearance and possibly kept Watford in the match. Dickens to Ward. Ward to Cotty. And Ward again against the post. Really good effort and unlucky. Mark Ward. Well, there's something that ought to be said here about West Ham. Other teams 1-0 up away from home in a championship position would just perhaps settle for it and sit back or sit in. But West Ham have gone out searching for the second goal, and they've deserved it and nearly got it there from Mark Ward. 10 minutes left. And it's Ward again. Watford are finding it impossible to contain these flank players. Ward's away once more. Cotty and McAvenny waiting in the centre. Cotty's come to the near post. McAvenny's there, but Terry just about managed it. And Stewart now, with Ward just behind him, and 4 waiting in the penalty area. Offside this time, McAvenny. Well, Watford couldn't complain, surely, now, if they were 2 or 3 down. Alvin Martin. Oh, that's a good ball. McAvenny. Clean through. Round the goalkeeper. Frank McAvenny. 2-0. Thoroughly well deserved. In the 90th minute, McAvenny makes it 2-0. Confirms the 3 points for West Ham and maintains their championship momentum. Alvin Martin played it through the centre. Watford were undermanned at the back. McAvenny ran on, took on the goalkeeper, survived the attempt to knock him over, and scored his 26th goal of the season for West Ham. What a tribute to West Ham, that even when the score was 1-0, they weren't content to sit back and defend. They went looking for number 2, and they finally got it. And we're now in stoppage time. And Watford here are a well-beaten side. There's no question about that. This is Devonshire. And the pedigree of West Ham shines through again as they prove that they haven't given up their hopes of the championship. 3 points secured, and rightly so, thanks to this marvellous partnership of Tony Cottee and Frank McAvenny, who take the honours once again. But this was a fine team performance by West Ham, and the message to football supporters as well as to players and to managers is that if the game is going to survive as a spectator sport and bring in people like this, then it needs teams like West Ham to do well, because they began the match on the attack, they finished the match on the attack, and they entertained us and were fully deserving of their 2-0 victory.
Well, no need for me to add to John Motson's glowing tribute to West Ham. And that win, I think, will make them clearly third favourites to the Merseyside duo. That's right, Bob, isn't it?
Well, yes, West Ham remain the only realistic challengers to the Merseyside double chasers Liverpool and Everton. Liverpool kept their noses in front of their neighbours by winning away against relegated Albion. And with Everton beating Ipswich, it means Manchester United can no longer overtake them. United drew 0-0 at Spurs, and Chelsea's 1-1 draw at home to Newcastle would seem to end their outside hopes of the title. But then come West Ham with those 3 games in hand over Liverpool, 2 in hand over Everton, who they play at Goodison in their last game. Player-manager Kenny Dalglish set Liverpool on the way to their 2-1 win at Albion, but it was Ian Rush who got the all-important winner. Pat Nevin's 21st minute goal gave the Chelsea fans some cheer, but John Anderson equalised for Newcastle on the stroke of half-time. At the bottom, Birmingham's 2-0 home defeat by Southampton sends them back to the second division first time around, but the other relegation place is still wide open, involving 5 clubs. 2 of them, Leicester and Milk Cup finalists Oxford, didn't play today, while Ipswich, as we've seen, lost to Everton, and Aston Villa were beaten 2-0 at Sheffield Wednesday. The only winners, Coventry City, who move up a couple of places after beating Luton 1-0. Nick Pickering scored that crucial goal for Coventry. Tonight's news of Mitch Devray, who we saw carried off at Everton. He's out of Ipswich's relegation fight and misses their 3 remaining games because of damaged knee ligaments. Another casualty at Goodison today, match winner Graham Sharp. He has an ankle injury that's forced him to pull out of Scotland's squad against England at Wembley on Wednesday. England are already without Brian Robson and Gary Lineker for that game, and manager Bobby Robson will have to check on Chris Waddle, who missed Spurs' game today because of a stomach bug. Manchester United's Norman Whiteside injured his back at White Hart Lane, and he's doubtful for Northern Ireland's World Cup warm-up game against Morocco in Belfast on Wednesday. You can see that match on Sports Night. News from the other divisions coming up later.
Well, thank you, Bob. Now it's time for the Goal of the Season competition, which embraces the best 8 goals scored in the Canon League this season and shown on BBC television and chosen by our World Cup team. All you have to do is to select the best 3 goals in order, and I'll tell you the rest in a minute. Coming up now, goal A scored by Ian Rush for Liverpool at Watford.
We're into the last quarter of an hour. Nicol, Walsh, always looks capable of setting something up for Liverpool. Craig Johnston's cross, Rush, yes!
Goal B scored by Jesper Olsen, his second for Manchester United against Nottingham Forest.
Goodman to Whiteside. Stapleton. Strachan. Good cross and a chance for Olsen.
Goal C scored by Gordon Davis for Manchester City against Watford.
Well, it's certainly a crisp, competitive cup tie. It needs a goal, actually, as far as the neutral is concerned, but Phillips is trying to release Lillis, and City have a chance. And Davis! The goal it needed has arrived, and Gordon Davis scores.
Goal D, Brian Robson's first for England in Israel.
Robson, yes! Totally unmarked for a crucial goal for his country to celebrate his 50th cap.
Goal E scored by Frank Stapleton for Manchester United at West Ham.
Hughes. Strachan. Oh, a lovely ball. Oh, what a great goal by Frank Stapleton.
Goal F scored by Glenn Cockerill for Southampton at Brighton.
Oh, now, can Southampton break here? This is Townsend. Well, he could have gone right or left. He's picked out Cockerill. Oh, and he's danced all the way through and planted it into Brighton's net.
Goal G scored by Steve McMahon for Liverpool against Manchester City.
And Liverpool are living a little dangerously, perhaps. Having said that, they're perfectly capable of going down to the Kop end and making it 2-0. Hansen, Dalglish, here's Mulvey, and now Johnston, and he fires it across. McMahon! He's got his second.
Goal H scored by Johnny Method for Nottingham Forest against West Ham.
The big Dutch international gives himself a long run. Oh, and didn't he drive it well? What an amazing free kick by the Dutchman.
Here's a check on those goals. Goal A, Ian Rush. B, Jesper Olsen. C, Gordon Davis. D, Brian Robson. E, Frank Stapleton. F, Glenn Cockerill. G, Steve McMahon. And H, Johnny Method. And that Johnny Method goal created a bit of fun in the crowd in the new stand at Forest, as Mr. Gary Copson pointed out in a letter to us. Apparently, a spectator in the top tier became so excited at that goal, his false teeth fell out, which were retrieved and passed back to him by a helpful spectator, hopefully still in working order. Well, only half a season's goals to choose from, I know there, but that doesn't make it any easier. Well, here's how to enter. You put your name and address on the left-hand side of a postcard, please, and your goal selections in 1, 2, 3 order on the right-hand side, and address the postcard to Goal of the Season, BBC Television, London W12 8QT. That's Goal of the Season, BBC Television, London W12 8QT. And the sender of the first correct entry drawn from our postbag to coincide with the choice of our World Cup panel of Bobby Charlton, Terry Venables, Trevor Brooking, Laurie McMenemy, Emma Hughes and George Best will receive £250 worth of premium bonds. And the result will be given in Cup Final Grandstand on May the 10th. And you'll be able to see the goals again in the Grandstand and Sports Night programmes between now and then. Bob.
Last week we congratulated Norwich on winning promotion. Tonight, Ken Brown's lads are celebrating winning the Second Division Championship. Their 1-1 draw at home to Stoke was good enough. Second place Portsmouth came back after 3 defeats with a 3-1 home win against Grimsby, while their nearest challengers, Wimbledon and Charlton, both drew 1-1 away. Those clubs still have 2 games in hand of Portsmouth, and they could pip them to the First Division. Dale Gordon got the goal that clinched the title for Norwich and also won £32,000 for a City fan who backed them for the championship when they were relegated a year ago. Scott McGarvey, recalled after being on loan to Carlisle, was the man who eased Portsmouth's tension with their 3rd goal against Grimsby. Carlton Fairweather's goal earned Wimbledon a point at Shrewsbury, and substitute Mike Flanagan saved Charlton at Hull with an equaliser 5 minutes from time. At the bottom of Division 2, no one is down yet, but it's looking ominous for Middlesbrough as well as Fulham. Both lost today. Fulham 2-1 against Carlisle, who move above Middlesbrough but not out of the relegation placings. Sunderland's 2-0 win at home to Barnsley puts them 1 place above the danger line, while Blackburn had their biggest win of the season, 6-1 at home to Sheffield United, a hat-trick there for Mark Patterson. In Division 3, well done Reading, on their way back to the Second Division after 55 years as a result of today's 0-0 draw at Darlington. Derby are now second after beating Bolton 2-1, and they've got 3 games in hand. The big promotion game today saw Wigan beat Plymouth 3-0 and go above them on goal difference. And Gillingham are still in the chase after their 2-0 win against Wolves. Like Norwich, Lou Macari's Swindon team are celebrating championship triumph tonight. Their 1-1 draw at Mansfield gave them the 4th Division title. Chester need only a point from 3 games to go up with them after their goalless draw at Orient. Port Vale are almost there as well. They won 2-0 against Peterborough, while the 4th place is looking good for Mansfield. Pools, check them very carefully because with only 8 score draws and 3 no-score draws, the forecast is for a possible jackpot. Telephone claims requested for 24 and 23 points. Here are the numbers: 2, 12, 14, 17, 20, 30, 39 and 44. The no scores: 6, 23 and 31.
Thank you, Bob. I shall be fulfilling a lifetime ambition by playing at Wembley tomorrow, would you believe, before the Milk Cup final. Be it only for 15 minutes for David Frost's Lord Taverner's team. So I shan't be running in the London Marathon, but no doubt you'll want to enjoy that superb spectacle on BBC television. It starts on BBC One at 9:05 tomorrow morning. It's early days in the quest to find this year's Embassy World Professional Snooker Champion, but the sparks are flying already, as you'll learn later tonight on BBC Two and on Sunday Grandstand. We'll be back on the final Saturday of the league season, May the 3rd, still following that Canon League Championship struggle. Will it be Liverpool, Everton or West Ham on the rails? We leave you with a look at what might have been. The top of the table on November the 2nd, Manchester United 10 points clear of Liverpool, 15 of West Ham and 17 of Everton. It's a marathon, not a sprint, that's for sure. Good night to you.
Nice turn by Ward. Devonshire. And still. Cotty arriving. Oh, it's a goal. Typical West Ham. Alvin Martin. Oh, that's a good ball. McAvenny. Clean through. Round the goalkeeper. Frank McAvenny. 2-0.
Richardson. Sharp! Lovely cross.